What's up, everybody? It's Q from Retro Q Gaming. I know it's been a while. I've had some important work stuff that we really needed to take care of that I can't talk about here. But yeah, it's been a while since I made the last video and I really miss it. So I figured what a better way than to get back into it than doing some of my usual ghetto ass little random unplanned unboxings. I was in Dublin today. I went to see Batman vs Superman the IMAX, and I stopped in at a couple of the comic stores and retro stores they have up there. Spent a good bit of money, got some good stuff, some stuff I've been having on my list, and some rare stuff as well. It's all pretty much good, and we're going to have a cool little quick unboxing of it as well. So we're going to start up with the one non-gaming related thing. It'll get it out of the way nice and quick so we can just completely focus on everything. So the first one, the non-gaming one, is pretty much what you would possibly expect. The latest volume of The Walking Dead. It's volume 25, No Turning Back. I won't go into detail about the spoilers and what's contained in it, but the handy thing about this is in around where I live, it's nearly impossible or unwieldy to get the individual issues. So every so often, every couple of months when they bring out the new ones, I do pick up the 5, 6, 7, whatever they include in them, issue volumes essentially. So the handy thing, I got this in Sub City in Dublin. It's a comic book store and all as well. I sell all that stuff as you'd expect. And what I actually like about Sub City compared to some of the other ones is they do have it sealed. It seems to be, not 100% sure yet if it's sealed perfectly from them, from their own in-business thing, because obviously when you look at the front of it, it is the cover for volume 25. It does have a little promotional, like, free Outcast. I can't tell if it's Outcast or Outlast, but yeah, you have like a free issue or something. I'm not sure if that's individually because of Sub City or if it's individually included with the standard volume 25. But the main thing is that when you look on the side of it, I was a little bit concerned about this at first. I was a bit worried that the actual Outlast sticker might be on the front of the actual volume itself. Seems to not be that way, because when you look nice and closely, you'll see that in the wrapping itself, it is a separate little cover on the front. You can see the separator there between them, so you definitely know that it is its own separate thing, which is nice. I'd hate to have an extra like sticker on the front of it and it would be in danger of ripping it off. I apologize for the terrible lighting. I don't have a proper setup for this. Should get around to it eventually, but yeah, you get the idea. Big fan of the Walking Dead comic. Haven't read it in a couple of months because volume 25 is just out, or only released on 2 days ago on Tuesday. So I finally get around to ignore all that stuff over there, by the way. It's just PC stuff. So yeah, that's that. And so we'll get that out of the way now. Let's move on to the crazy ass the crazy ass retro game stuff, which is why you're really here. Now, so we're moving on to the main important thing we have here. So this big, beautiful gold bastard you see here in front of us, yes, it's actually gold. It's hard to tell because of it may be hard to tell because of the crappy lighting. But yes, this big, beautiful gold motherfucker right here is from a place I like to frequent up in Dublin. It's called The Rage, aka makes perfect sense. Record Art Game Emporium, RAGE. The Rage makes it so much easier than calling it the Record Art Game Emporium. So yeah, you can see they have their address and all there. Obviously you don't need that, you're probably not Irish. But the main thing is you can check out their website as well, just in case you want to see the kind of stuff they have all there. For the record, they didn't ask me to do this or anything. I paid for all this stuff myself. I just thought it'd be cool to do, and it's be pretty nice. So you've got pretty much everything on the front. The back is exactly the same. It has all everything you see here. And then when you flip it over on the side, it's got a cool little Mario question block. Same on the other side as well. We flip it all around anyway just to make sure. You see that one again. And in there. Now I have not opened this since they packaged it up. I know what's in it, because obviously I picked it out and bought it. They boxed it all up for me. I don't know how it's boxed inside or anything like that. I'm going to do it off camera, and I'm going to bring it in one at a time so we can individually go over everything about it. So, let's get on to that. So, next up, we'll throw in one of the other main... Oh, camera's out of focus for a second. We'll throw up one of the main other things I was looking for. It's something I used to have way back in the day, and I've really wanted to replace, especially lately, since I got my original Game Boy a little while back, and some of the other stuff. Camera, please stop auto-focusing. There we go. We'll leave it about here anyway. So, what I managed to get myself a hold of was a nice little Game Boy Color. Okay? Now, we'll try not to blind you with the reflection of the light. This Game Boy Color is, obviously, you can see it's the original purple design. This is the same color one I had back in the day. All my friends had different color versions of it. Most of them had the semi-purple, slightly see-through transparent version, and I was the only one that seemed to have this one anyway as well. I still remember when I actually got my original Game Boy Color. I ran into one of my friends, I went up to Dublin to get it, ran into one of my friends who was spending his money at the same time. Well, I only ran into him on the way back. He had just bought the GoldenEye bundle Nintendo 64, and I had got my Game Boy Color, Link's Awakening DX, obviously because it was the Game Boy Color version it gave me access to New Dungeon, and Harvest Moon, and that of course started my complete Harvest Moon love affair. So it's in pretty good nick, pretty good condition on this one. It all completely works. There is one or two little marks, you'll see if it focuses in a little bit. You can see there's one or two little marks, that's about it. I did get a good deal on this one simply because the speaker is very weak compared to what it should be. You got to test out. He turned off all the music in the store. We got a good test of it for the, the actual how much you can actually like hear it from a distance, like say from right up to your face, or like from here this distance, or halfway across the room, whatever. It is pretty low. The guy gave me almost a 50% discount off it. No box. Does have the panel, the battery panel on the back. That was a key thing I wanted as well. I'm very very fussy like that as well. But the main thing is, once I do ever get around to use it anyway, I'm just going to be using my headphones with it anyway. It all works. It's all in good condition. Got even threw in the batteries. I've got a million sets of batteries, but it was a good deal, and I was very happy to get it anyway, so I'm pretty pleased. Now, so depending on which way you look at it, goddamn camera loves autofocusing right at the start of everything. So I'm building up my way through all this anyway. I obviously started with some small stuff and all, and I'm working my way up through it. I wasn't sure if I should go through a bit more rare stuff first or last, or a bit more expensive stuff first or last, whatever it is. I do know what's coming last, but I wasn't sure what way I was going through it. I am going to break my original plan for it, and we're going to slide in next with an NTSC boxed copy for the Super Nintendo of Final Fantasy III. Now, for those of you out there, obviously many of you are Final Fantasy fanboys just like myself, and you know of course that in the US Final Fantasy III is basically actually Final Fantasy VI. So while I have a boxed Japanese copy of Final Fantasy VI, this is a nice one to add to the collection. The quality is pretty decent, the state it's in. It was pretty expensive. I did spend a good bit of money up there today, but with all the stuff I was buying and all the money they were knocking off it, and the fact I just got paid today, it was pretty... I couldn't really say no too much. So we will open it up. You may get a little bit shaky cam, just because, here's my hands. So, obviously straight away with the Rage, they always give you... They keep all their stuff in the nice little plastic box protectors. So that's always really nice, especially when you come to say the N64 and the Super Nintendo games are all the boxes are the same size, so all the box protectors work really well. There's other ones, like I have... God, what do I have from them? I recently repurchased Harvest Moon on the Game Boy Color, and that came with a nice Game Boy box protector. I've got a bunch of other ones too from them as well, but those are the main ones that come out at the top of my mind currently. So back to shaky cam. Apologies again on lighting and shitty shaky cam. We'll quickly open this, have a decent little look at it. So you can see I don't know if you can see, the box is in pretty good condition. That's a pretty important one. Obviously you've got a little bit of fraying around the edges, it's pretty much expected for any old school cardboard box for these games. So let's crank this open very, very gently. So we have it. So naturally you've got the cartridge. The artwork is basically perfectly intact. I don't see any tears, or just one little tiny mark there. Not really worried about that. Other than that, as you can see, it's in pretty much perfect condition. So that's good. As you'd expect from underneath. All this stuff was tested in store as well, by the way, so I know it's all in working conditions and all. One thing that really attracted me to this one here is simply because it had well, there's a couple of things. This is one of them. The fact that it actually has the original Final Fantasy 3 Player's Guide from Nintendo card. Still, back in the day when there was like little to no internet, obviously this is an American one, because the first Final Fantasy we got over here in Europe was Final Fantasy 7 on the PS1. But yeah, this was obviously a big deal at the time. You'd always see these in, say, like the likes of Nintendo, official Nintendo magazine, or some of the other third-party magazines and all as well, computer and video games, Games Master, whatever had you based on wherever you lived. But here is what really, really did it for me. Not only does it have the manual. Manual now is not in great condition. I'm happy enough to actually have the manual. That's the key thing. But it's all, oh hello, we know exactly who you are. So the fact is, it's all in one piece. That's an important one, barely, if you will. It's all in one piece. So you can see it's not in the greatest condition, but yeah, you see it all there. It is the fact that it still came with a manual. Final Fantasy, a US copy of Final Fantasy 3, aka Final Fantasy 6, on a Super Nintendo with a good condition box. The actual Final Fantasy, whatever you want to call it, the Final Fantasy 3 guide pamphlet kind of thing. Good condition cartridge with one slight mark on it. A decent condition guide. The front of it and the back of it are a bit suffered from a bit wear and tear. But everything else is pretty good inside it. But the thing that really, really did it for me, which is obviously, you can see here the entire time, is it still has the map. Once I found out it had the map, I was done. It's done. The map is in decent enough condition. There is one, or two actually, I think it was. Yes, there's two, I won't call them large tears. We have a nice hole. I hate my light. I need a proper lighting setup if I ever keep doing this. But the main thing is the map is all intact in one large piece. Like I said, it does have two. I don't want to call them tears simply because they are down the regular folds. But they all had them included still actually in there. That was a huge deal for me, especially as a massive Final Fantasy nerd. So I love that anyway. So we're going to move on to some of the next stuff as well. I should have left this for maybe second last or something, but yeah, we'll worry about that later. A great addition to collection. I'm really happy about it. So next up, you're wondering why this one is starting facing the wall instead of facing the usual down below area and then lifting stuff onto it. Well, there's a reason for this. I had to actually set this one up, or at least display it out properly anyway. So this is the main thing I was expecting to get up there today. It's the reason I went up. I've been calling the last few weeks and all to make sure to see if they had one in stock. They were sold out for a little while, but they only got one back in stock the other day. And naturally I got them to hold it for me. I was up there today, first thing, shortly after they opened. And I grabbed that as well. It's all working, it's all tested. I'm really happy about it. We'll go over the whole thing anyway. So, without further ado, we have, if the camera would focus, a NES. An original Nintendo Entertainment System. Now this is a big deal for me. I realize I probably said that about a lot of stuff, especially like Final Fantasy and all, and Game Boy Color, blah blah blah. But this one is also a big deal for me. Back in the day, I never had a NES. I went straight from a Commodore 64 to a Super Nintendo. That's my own personal owning stuff. I have played a NES. I did play them back in the day when they were current. A couple of friends of mine had some NES. Mostly we played Super Mario Brothers, usually Mario Brothers 3 and Duck Hunt were the games of choice. But I did get around to playing it a few times and all. Didn't really, concern me about buying one. I was a kid at the time. I wanted everything, so it didn't really count. But the fact is, once I found out I could get this, we have the NES. We'll take a quick look around the entire thing. You have everything on the sides. On top, you see there are a couple of little marks, but these are superficial. They're kind of like marker or something like that. I'll probably be able to buff them out with a little bit of cleaning. Yes, before anyone goes mad, I am used to cleaning this kind of plastic and this kind of device, so I'm not just going to throw a wet cloth or anything on it. I know how to keep the kind of plastic integrity intact as well as the color, and I might even give it a quick one of the, whatever you want to call it, like whitewashing or anything. So the fact is, there are, like I said, there are a few little marks. You've got, say, it's really, really bad camera work by me here. So you've got like 1, 2, little bit of 3, maybe a tiny like bit of 4, and the big one over here, which is 5. But again, that'll all mark off anyway. It also did come with a controller. The controller was in pretty decent condition. There's a little bit of yellowing and a tiny little bit of dirt on it. The back especially, yeah, there you go, you have it. The back especially. Luckily that's all dirt, and not actually, well, not so much dirt, but it's a little bit of just kind of grime, which will all wipe off and clean off. I wanted to do this before I just did anything, so it didn't look like I just kind of cleaned it up for the video presentation. I'm literally only taking them out of a box just now, simply because of this video. Also came with, you know, RF cables are a thing of the past. The NES is mono for audio, so of course it comes with the, you know, well, we have it on the side here. So you have it there. You've got yellow for your video and red for your mono. So that's always nice and handy to have. Goes straight into the TV, no tuning or anything like that. Just literally change over to the input for it. Power supply unit, nothing to say about that. It's a power supply unit, you know, same deal. I can't wait to actually play some of this and some of the games that I got for this, which you're going to see now in a second. But yeah, it's always been pretty important for me to eventually have a NES, and now I have one. They had some great games up there that I wanted as well. I did drop a significant amount of money, but I couldn't justify any more money on top of it as well. They did have stuff like, say, Battletoads. There was a boxed copy of Battletoads there, €65 I think it was. There was a couple of other things. There was like Battletoads and Double Dragon. There was, Jesus, I can't even remember. They had Mega Man 2 up there. That was a nice title. A boxed copy of Mega Man 2. It was up there. So it's, yeah, they have some nice stuff up there. So one of the other ones I did get while I was up there, Super Mario Bros. 2. Or, well, depending on what way you want to look at it, because simply back in the day when it was first conceived and all that as well, technically this was originally released as not a Mario game. So depending on what way you look at it, we still call it Super Mario Bros. 2, at least I personally do anyway. Well, yeah, you know, most people will just refer to it as Mario. So the box is in really nice condition. There are one or two, like, there's original price sticker marks on there. That's how old school this is, and it's actually still on there. Usual little corner phrase, as you'd expect. We'll take it out of the plastic box protector and have a quick look at it anyway. So, shaky cam time. I always dread shaky cam. Camera's just basically hanging from my neck because I don't have a tripod or any proper setup for this. Well, that just kind of was anticlimactic, so let's go with this again. There we go. So we've got the original Nintendo sleeve and everything, which is always nice. That's what I loved about the NES boxes. They actually had I don't know if you call them dust protectors or like the actual chip protectors at the end, but it was always nice to have the extra little sleeve. And there we have Super Mario Bros. 2 with my bad camera work and lighting and shadows everywhere. Still works. Like I said, we did test out the entire thing. We tested out the entire cartridge, as well as one other game that I got. Well, one other NES game that I got was tested too, as well as Final Fantasy. But yeah, the main thing is it does work, and it was a pretty good deal. It was almost completely free when included with the actual purchase of the NES. So I'm definitely excited about that. Last time I was up there, they did have a boxed copy of Mario Bros. 1 and 3. I would have liked to get both of those as well as this, just to complete the trilogy, the old trilogy, as you'd expect to have. But, you know, it'll have to wait till another day. I'm up there every couple of months, so I'm going to see what they have next time. Maybe I might even get that boxed copy of Battletoads and then be like, hey, Phil Spencer, look at this. Boom. Let's move on to the next one anyway. Now, here we have the next one. The next one I only got because of what it was. It also got a decent discount because it was included with the... Damn it, camera focus. Because it was included with the purchase of the NES... Okay, hang on. We're gonna get this right. Yeah, because it was included with the purchase of the NES, that it did get a pretty decent discount. And it's a nice game to have in the collection. Albeit, before I do put it into frame, I almost accidentally put it in frame. There it is again. Before I do that, I am aware that this is essentially the worst version of the game. It's very hard to get the other ones, and it's good enough for me to have in the collection to be able to say I own it as well. So the reason for that is, anyway, we have Snake's Revenge. let's get that into some actual light instead of, you know, my actual shadow. So yeah, Snake's Revenge, original Konami style Metal Gear. It's basically Metal Gear 2 essentially. So yeah, it's usually mostly known that the NES version of Metal Gear 2 Snake's Revenge is basically the worst edition of the game for several reasons. A couple of glitches, a couple of big bugs, but you know, it's nice to have one of the original Metal Gears. Pretty much at this rate, I'm only missing the original Metal Gear. Very hard to find, very hard to get a good copy of that. I'd like to justify spending the asked money on it usually. So that's the thing. So for the moment, we'll go back to shaky cam. We have the box down. The box in this one is in surprisingly good condition. There's even compared to some of the other ones, there's very little wear and tear on it. It's really good. So let's get this open. I really like these box protectors as well. So yeah, even by comparison, there's very little. Obviously yes, there is a little tiny bit, but it's mostly on literally just the very corners. So there's practically none. So I do really like the condition of this one. Obviously it's Snake's Revenge. It's legendary in its own way for both good and bad reasons. But yeah. So there is one thing as well we'll cover in this video in a second. It's also related to this game as well. So it does come with a sleeve. I'm a big thing about the guy of having one with the sleeve. But one of the important things as well is this one actually has the manual. I know my Super Mario Bros. Did not have the manual, but this one did. That's obviously pretty important for me, at least, anyway. Well, it's not important, but it is a boon. It's a nice extra boon to have as well. And then we have, of course, the actual cart. Again, same with same with the copy of Super Mario Bros. And like pretty much Final Fantasy and everything else. Tested in store in front of me. I do know it works. We tested it for basically. They just said I can test it for as long as I want, just so it. You know, I don't think that they're just going, oh yeah, well it'll work up to this part and then it breaks, and yeah. So it's nice to have, especially, you know, add to we call it the Hideo Kojima collection. I do have issues with all that, but that's covered in many other videos. Today's video today is all about the sweet ass retro haul I got, and there's a reason for that. That we're just basically going to leave it at that rather than delve into anything else really about my feelings on certain people or certain games or whatever it is anyway. So the main thing we learned is this, obviously, okay, Snake's Revenge on the NES, working copy, box copy, manual, etc. But the main thing is coming up next. It'll be the final one in the video. It's very important, and it is a significant find. It was a serious investment. It was very expensive. I don't want to say exactly how expensive it was. I may eventually down the line. I may, like, if someone asks a comment, or might come into it. But I don't really want to talk about it, simply because it's a once-off investment. Not this now, but it's a once-off investment, and yeah, it's nice to. It'll be something that's nice to permanently have. But we're going to cover that in a second, because actually we're going to cover it now because it's the next and final one in this list. So now, so lastly is what we have up, the final purchase in my retro haul today. As I said a second ago at the end of the previous recording on that one, it was very expensive. It is a pretty rare thing to actually find, and the fact that it was there and I was spending a good bit of money and I was, you know, I got paid and I was in the retro spending mood is pretty much why I went with this anyway. So we'll go on. The pièce de résistance of my collection today is this pile of bubble wrap. No. There's a reason why this was packed in a severe amount of bubble wrap. Because it does come in a plastic case. No spoilers just yet. But it does come in a plastic case akin to, you know, well, what do we have, like PS1 games and things like that. So it obviously is very fragile and easy to crack, especially because I was carrying it around most of the day. And God knows what could have happened, especially being in the same box. Well, there was a bunch of packing material and all as well, in with, say, my other games, my Game Boy Color and the NES and all the stuff in there as well. But either way, it still would have been very easy to crack anyway. But I left it all in this to heighten the suspense. So let's get this all out. I could probably crack all this bubble wrap. Hopefully you didn't see through that a second ago. I didn't really think that one through. 3 layers of bubble wrap. You may be able to pick up on what it is through here. If not, I'm going to pop it out sideways so you still can't actually see it. See? Hopefully you still haven't made out what it is. Now, there's a reason, as I've said 100 times so far in this video, why this is expensive and pretty rare, and I did pretty much impulse buy it and have to just snatch it up at the last second. Kind of a pun in there as well, simply because the game we're talking about today is Snatcher. The Sega Mega CD version of Snatcher. Now for those of you out there who know that, you probably are checking this one out and you realise that this is a decently rare game. And why it's so expensive and so important to a lot of collectors nowadays is because, well, it doesn't really impress me too much, but I know it does factor into the whole mystique of the game. And it is a Hideo Kojima game. That is why it's one of the lesser known, harder to find, not just harder to find, but let's try again. Games with less notoriety in the Hideo Kojima collection of games and all as well. So we've gone in. It still has the manual, which is very nice. You've got the nice disc artwork. Well, I said disc artwork, but there's not really much, but it's still all intact. There's no scratches, marks, anything like that on this Mega CD version of Snatcher by Hideo Kojima. Don't know why I'm including Hideo Kojima's name in there 100 times. It must be an leftover bit of residue from the whole Metal Gear Solid 5. Oh, there's my sock foot. My my Metal Gear Solid 5 incident where every second sentence is a Hideo Kojima something. So we'll take a look. There is a little crack on the back of the box. I don't know if you can see it too well. There you go. You can see it there. You can really only see it from an angle, even like looking directly on at it, with the exception of where it actually goes onto the picture. I mean, it might be more pronounced in this actual video, but looking at it in person, it's not really that hard to notice. So one thing I really like about Snatcher is first off I should say I've never actually played Snatcher, but you know, when you understand it a little bit more and the whole dystopian future and I won't say psychotic future, that's not properly... Well, we'll go off the back of the box anyway. The year is 2047. Neo-Kobe City, a place of madness and decadence. A mysterious bioroid life form has appeared. Its true nature and purpose are unknown. Is it some country's secret weapon? Or an alien from another world? They kill their victims and take their place, and thus have come to be known as Snatchers. A new police force, Junkers, specifically trained to combat Snatchers, has been formed. The war between Snatchers and Junker has begun. So yeah, pretty much good shit. Very, very Blade Runner-esque. As I was saying, I was up there with one of my friends. He was asking me like what it's about, and I was telling him all that stuff. And he just said, "It's like, geez, that sounds a lot like Blade Runner." I was like, "Yeah, that's exactly pretty much what it's aimed to be like." And then the guy who was serving me at the time, he said to me, he completely agreed, and he said, "If you did this and looked at the front of the case, and if obviously you can't see the name Snatcher, and if you said this was if someone had told you that this was a Blade Runner game or Blade Runner artwork or Blade Runner something, they would likely believe you." And I completely agree with that. Reminds me a lot of the not just this, but the whole package, the whole artwork and all. It reminds me a lot of an old PC version of Blade Runner. Very, very sketchy game, but old school PC versions as it was. So that is the pride and joy essentially of today's haul. I have been pretty psyched about a lot of stuff I got, especially the fact that I managed to finally get a NES. I've been after this all this time. Replacing the Game Boy Color, a great copy of NTSC Final Fantasy 3, complete with maps and manual and all. Snake's Revenge, yeah, I know, but whatever. A good copy of Snake's Revenge and a good copy of Mario Bros. 2, as well as the NES. I said the NES already. And obviously this bad boy right here. Probably going to try to get myself a copy of Psychonauts, and MGS1 is very hard to find a good copy of that I'm happy with. we'll see if I can manage to finish the collection anyway. So that's basically been the whole thing here. Thank you for watching the whole video. Let me know what you think about it in the comments below. If you have any comments about any individual things we got, anything we talked about, anything we unboxed, anything like that at all, let me know in the comments section below. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. You can follow me on Twitter. Details in the description below. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you on the rest of the videos in my channel while we zoom in on Not Blade.